I want to ask you about recruiting. We were just talking with Coach Halfley about this as well. It seems like you guys are really close to landing some defensive recruits. I know you can't be specific with the names, but how do you feel about how close you guys are with landing some top defensive guys?
Well, I think anytime you coach at Ohio State University and you're recruiting great kids, you have a chance of getting them. And our kids, our coaches, I think, have done a great job. We've done the thing I'm finding that everybody works together to get the players. It's not about I'm recruiting this guy and you're recruiting that guy. It's a team effort, because when they get here, they're all Ohio State defensive players. And I think right now, we're doing well. Our players, if you're a recruit and you come around and you watch our defensive players, I think you have to be excited. I know I am, because they're young kids. They're great character. They love the game. And if I'm a recruit, I'm seeing that. I'm liking it.
Obviously, for years, kids could only take their official visits in the fall. Now they can take it in the summer. I mean, are you a fan of that? Do you like that?
Oh, yeah. I like it a lot, because, it takes your time. That's all part of it. But, I mean, anytime, like a place like this, Mickey Marotti, our strength coach, is the best in the country. If you're a recruit and you get a chance to come in the summer and you get a chance to see why so many players have done so well and how so many players have improved themselves and have gone on to the NFL, you watch it firsthand. That's a great advantage. You don't always get to do that if you can't come on an official visit in the summer.
So despite only having one defensive commit so far, safe to say you are not concerned at all about recruiting?
No, not at all. And again, I got to go by if I'm a recruit or if what I see. And I mean, don't worry about it. It's going to be fine.
Jeff was saying that you guys want to make it so that there's a lot of different ways that guys can come in. Maybe there's one package for a guy to be able to contribute. How do you feel like you're able to balance it with getting as many players who deserve to be on the field as possible?
Well, that's the very important part about coordinating the defense. You'd love to get very, very skilled players a chance to play. But at the same time, you have to be very, very simple in that you don't want a young man to not play as well as he can because of confusion. And that's always, coaches have all this time and they sit and look at things and they go, oh, that's a great defense, we should do that and do that. And all of a sudden you start looking at it and they're building up, there's a bunch more defenses, there's a bunch more things. And you got to be really, really conscious of what's going to allow Chase Young to play the best he can play. What is that call? And if you have three other guys like him up front or too deep of guys like that, what's going to allow them to play the best they can play? And if it's 5 defenses instead of 10, then you play 5. But there's also that part where you'd love to get a young freshman or a young sophomore that's really, really starting to prove himself without having to do everything. Plug them into 1 or 2 defenses where you have a better athlete running the stunt.
Is there like an ideal number of defensive packages you want to have in your mind, or is it kind of fluid based on how a season goes?
No, you get a great feeling, and with our coaches, we've got a great staff, a great defensive staff, and you've got a lot of experience. And so what ends up happening is all of a sudden it looks really good to Jeff and I, or Al and I, and all of a sudden Larry goes, that's a little too much, and pretty soon you go, okay, that's good. Let's bring this thing back a little bit. And it's. I think in the back of your mind, though, I know I do personally. We have very talented players. Let's let them play. Let's not confuse them. Let's not ever have the thing where all of a sudden during a game they're looking over and going like, what's the call? That's. I think as a coordinator, that has always been something I like have nightmares of. When you look over there, you see the guys are going like, just come on, give me the call, and you're going, oh man, I'm really making it hard on this guy, and you don't want to do that.
Greg, if you're along those lines, if you're personalizing maybe packages for personnel, I'm trying to it seems like you guys want to do more varied stuff, multiple defenses than maybe Ohio State has done. And so is that how you narrow it down? Because the players keep talking about simplifying. So if you just have certain 2 or 3 responsibilities for 10 different guys, then that expands the package. Is sort of the theory there?
I know, again, and I'm not saying no that you're wrong what you're saying. Here's what it comes down to. What will allow the 11 players out there to play the best they can play? I mean, like with the way teams run tempo now, and what their teams are trying to do is they're trying to make sure you can't get a lot of separate packages in there. They would love nothing more than for Ohio State to be sending in 2 skilled, fast guys during a play and them get ready to snap the football. I think you've all seen that, and I know I wake up in a nightmare seeing too many guys on the field or not enough guys on the field, right? Well, that's what you got to make sure of. You say to yourself, no, we have really good players here. Let's get them really feeling good about it. And let's have a package where maybe the 11 that are out there, they may not be as fast as you could put in there, but they're playing faster. And therefore, you play the best guys at that time.
Greg, when you come out of the spring, and I don't know if one spring is enough to make a verdict one way or the other on this, but when you evaluate what you did with Brendan and the theory behind that, what was your evaluation coming out of it and what you think might be for him going forward?
Well, I think we definitely put him in the best position for his skill level. We play a lot of man coverage, and to play man coverage, as a safety sometimes you have to have the ability to play down on a slot. You have to play against a really good player, and sometimes there's safeties that can't do that. Therefore, you come up with packages where, Pete Werner is an outstanding football player. Well, him playing outside of the box might not make him as good a player, where Brennan might be. So you come up with what we call a bullet position where this guy can cover that guy. And we're trying to make him that position. And that's not always easy, especially when you've had a lot of success playing zone coverage as a free safety. Now you're kind of playing man coverage. Okay, how can we make it best for him? The thing I've really been proud of is ever since the spring, and we had a very good conversation about this, of what he must do, what he has to do to improve, what he has to buy into to be the successful player that we want him to be. And he's been all in. And I've noticed in the workouts, he's working really hard. So I'm really excited about it.
We often talk about summer being a time when players get together, bond, form that chemistry and rapport that they need. There was a lot of defensive staff changeover. Is this as essential a time for you guys in that aspect as it is for the players?
Yeah, I mean, the bonding part of it, I think the bonding part of it is when you come in at 6 in the morning and you leave at 6 at night. You're in a room right there. And one thing, when you have the kind of staff we have, which is, there's so much experience there. There's so much success that's been in those coaches, and everybody wants to be the best they can be. Everybody wants this to be the best defense ever been, and so you're all working together on it. And the thing I'm so proud of on it is there aren't egos. It's all about Ohio State. It's all about our defense. It's all about how good can we make this defense, and that's every guy in that room. And I said that to my wife after I was here for a while. I said, man, this is a great defensive staff, and these are guys that you really enjoy coming into work with every day.
And how far along are you toward establishing the kind of culture you want? Because the offensive culture is here because there was a lot of continuity in staff and whatnot, but how far along are you into establishing the culture you want to see at OSU?
13-1. 13-1. Yeah, okay. I don't look at stats. I don't look at what were you ranked. A team is made up of 3 things: offense, defense, and kicking game. 13-1. Okay, yeah, we don't be undefeated. That's fine. Okay, but the culture. I watch these players now. There's some culture here now. You don't work as hard as you've worked in winter conditioning. You don't work as hard as you worked in spring football if there's not culture. It's not broken. I mean, these players now, these players want to be great. The thing that makes it special, and the thing that I'm so excited about, is when you look at these kids and you put in a defense and you say, this is what we're going to do, they look at you and go, okay, let's go. It's not like you're coming in and you go, wow, we got to fix this. Not my opinion now. I think this group of coaches and these players, we're excited about, let's see how good we can be this next year. That's the bottom line. Let's be the best we can be. And that's our goal.
Just when you look at I didn't mean to imply it was broken, but not all 13-1 teams are constituted the same way. So that's all
right.
Coach, when you look at the linebackers, how would you assess that group? And do you think you guys will have just 3 starters that play the most of the way? Or do you think you guys might do a lot of rotating?
Well, and I'm glad. That's a great question. That's a really talented group. I mean, that's a group that when you get the 40 times that were just tested and you see them walk in that meeting room every day, you just go, whoa. I mean, some of these guys look like defensive ends, and they run 4.5, 4.6. I think it's a very, very talented group. It's a very deep group. And the big thing, they're young. And when you're a young football player, you always want to use just talent. Well, you can't do that and be as successful as we want to be and we have to be. So the biggest thing now is fundamentals. Really, really seeing if we can't make that freshman be a junior. If you can't make that sophomore be a senior. And that's what we're trying to do right now. And every day, and Al does a great job of that, where we're working on fundamentals, on footwork, on punching the sled, on all those kind of things. And because the talent level, it's a very talented group.
Greg, one of the things that Kevin Wilson mentioned is he said this generation of players communicates a ton on their phone, and they need to kind of come a long ways in terms of verbalizing stuff. And the summer is kind of an opportunity for that, where they can work on communication and that sort of thing. Has that been your experience?
Yeah, there's no question. And I think, and we talked about that today, ironically, you must have been in our meeting because, or not our meeting, but when we were walking around out here, and the first thing we talk about is that one of the biggest things we have to do is we have to communicate. We have to communicate. And the point I brought up with the linebackers, this might be the best defensive line around. Let's make sure they're set. Let's make sure they're lined up, because you don't want them to be confused. So your job as a linebacker, number one, is get that talented big group in front of you set. Then you can have a lot more fun playing. And we talked about that already.
Greg, you don't have a position group. How is that good, and how is that maybe a challenge?
Well, I do kind of have a position group, and then I've been working with the Sams. Okay, and I tried at first not. I've coached a long time. I couldn't do it. I mean, after a while, I go, what am I doing? I felt like I was cheating, And so I'm coaching the Sam linebackers, and I'm working with Al because you got to work them together. So, but it's been very positive that way, because it's not like when you're coaching 20 guys, because a lot of time for me has to be the practice schedule, the playbook, that kind of thing. And so it's worked out good.
Can you give your assessment of the Sams, where they stand right now?
Well, I think Pete Werner had a really, really good spring, and I think he's going to be a heck of a football player. And Brandon White, again, being a bullet is like a Sam. So he's done a good job. Jason Wint has done a really good job. Kay Pope, we've got a lot of talent there.
I know you've got Kate Stover coming in as well at that Sam spot. What are your just first impressions of him?
I can't wait. That's my first impression. I can't wait. I watched him play basketball. I watched him work out. I can't wait.
Do you think he'll be able to stay at linebacker?
Can't wait.
Greg Young, where do you see him fitting at? He's kind of at a position.
Boy, he's a great athlete. I was watching him run the other day. Wow, he's a great athlete. A lot of times with a young guy, it all depends on how mature he is in picking things up. It goes back to the first thing we talked about. I don't know if you were here, but the first thing we talked about is you got to make sure when you have very talented athletes that you don't give them so much that you slow them down. It's happened to a lot of people where you know a lot of football and you try to put all that football in, and pretty soon that 4.6 becomes a 4.8. And then that's not good coaching. And so he would be an example right now. I mean, he's got a lot of athleticism that you might put him in for 1 or 2 defenses if you could do that, or 1 or 2 packages where you could get him to do some things that use his skill level.